Welcome to GCCars, my name is Eric and this is the newly refreshed 2022 Mazda CX-5 Signature. With this refresh, Mazda aims to once again reign supreme in the highly competitive compact SUV segment, and we've just tested a few of its competitors such as the Honda CR-V, the Buick Envision, the Ford Escape, and the all-new Nissan Rogue. And now I wanted to be one of the first ones to test this 2022 CX-5 because in the past I have found that the Mazdas often fare pretty well compared to the competition. And yes, I'm getting absolutely blasted with snow right now. Welcome to beautiful Canada. And yeah, but as always, we're first of all going to take a look at the exterior of this CX-5, then we're going to look at the interior, then we're going to drive it, and of course, at the end, we're going to sum it all up and compare it to the competition. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you like the video, because we upload videos almost every single week, from everything from budget cars to luxury cars, sports cars, trucks, and everything in between. With that being said, let's get started here. First of all, the color we have on this CX-5, oh my god, it's getting really snowy on the side, is polymetal gray metallic. I think it's a decent color, although I'm a sucker for soul red crystal, metallic crystal, soul red, whatever the order of the words is, I always forget. But this is pretty decent, and I gotta be honest, I'm not too sure about the refresh. I don't think the 2022, the version, this refreshed version, looks really better than the 2021 version. I think it's a little, I don't think the lines quite work well with the grille and the typical Mazda design we've had previously on all the other ones. I think I personally liked a little more. Maybe it just needs some time to grow on me. But mainly what they did was like the headlights and the taillights, kind of like the biggest thing that changed. And I have some pictures for you. I parked actually right next to same color CX-5, just a pre-refresh. Just let me know what you like more. I think I'm a bit more in the boat of the pre-refresh, but there's a new sport design trim which sits a little bit on the Signature, and it gives you like blacked out grille and all that, and I think that looks pretty good. But in terms of the side, I think our wheels look decent, not too like flashy, but fitting for the Signature. And then the back actually works pretty well. I gotta be honest, I like the back. It has a very good like balance of like blacked out accents, especially in the polymetal gray, and then with the chrome badges. That looks pretty good. And I think the taillights, even though we kind of lost this typical like round Mazda taillight, I think work pretty well. Overall, I think I prefer the 2021, but this will grow on me. Let's talk about it again in a year. But first of all, before we wait a year, let's talk CX-5 Signature interior. And just like pretty much all the other Mazdas that we tested, they are some of the, if not the nicest interiors in the segment. Materials are very, very good all throughout. They're soft. We have leathers on so many spots. It just feels very good, and the few plastics that we have are very soft. It's soft touch plastics, so it's like very soft. It's not scratchy. Good job on the materials here in Mazda. The seats are very comfy, heated, cooled, good lateral support. I like them a lot. In general, the driving position is nice as well. The steering wheel is thin. Might be a little too thin actually for me. I prefer thicker steering wheels, but this is fine. This is fine for most people, and it feels very good. I think we have paddles, of course, as well. And then we have our gauge cluster, which the middle part is actually a screen. It's not like a physical analog gauge, and you can switch around a little bit. And what I always like about this gauge cluster that Mazda has is that wherever the speed limit is, it just kind of marks it with a red line. And if you have cruise control on, there's like a little green line. It's pretty cool, actually. Very nicely integrated. The accent we have in here is really nice. So first of all, we have this brushed metal look. And then we have the wood, which is, it's not real wood, it's plastic, but it looks pretty convincing, and I think it looks really good. And then yeah, let's talk a little bit usability, and then we already are done up here. We have HUD controls, really good because it's all physical, not buried in any infotainment, super easy to use. And then we have the infotainment, which not everyone will love, admittedly, because it is controlled via the dial here. It's not a touchscreen, it's 10-inch screen. So you can't touch your own. It's all via the dials here. But I don't mind that. Honestly, I think it works very well. It's a very intuitive system. It doesn't have the most features by far. There's other systems that have a lot more features, but this works very well. You don't have to take your eyes off the road a lot, especially coming out of the Mach-E last week. The video's come probably in a month or so, by the way. This is priority, this video. everything was in a touchscreen in the Mach-E, and it's just so nice to just not have to look at the screen while on the highway, and just kind of have to, just have to kind of gauge wherever my selection is, and then I know I don't even have to look at it. And this works really well. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is wired, and admittedly Android Auto looks a little funky when you're not allowed to touch it, but once you kind of get around to see how it's used, that is actually very decent. Lastly, we of course have a wireless charger, which means of course we do have a wireless charger, which is really nice. And then we have it leaned back from us. Now I don't know if that is, I'm gonna find that out. I don't know if that's like just a mechanical requirement that they couldn't fit it like flat, but I'm just gonna assume, based on this not being a touchscreen, that's kind of like a theme, it aims away from us, so when you get a notification, we don't really necessarily see it, and it's just not as tempting to grab it. Very nice. I just wish the edge would be a little higher, because it can sometimes slide out, and then if you can't get it right in there, it can be a little tricky to keep it within the wireless charging spot. But no, this is just as expected. This is very nice. And we have a little sunroof up top. Not as big as some others, but still nice to have. Anyhow, let's take a look at the rear seats. Talking to Sergeant. I have no idea what this noise is. We're just gonna ignore it. Okay. I can't wait for spring. Rear seats are very nice, very comfy, and just like in front, offer plenty of lateral support if the driver is a bit more aggressive in their driving. Materials also just as nice up in front, very plush. Everything that you touch is good. You have pouches in the front seats, so you have storage, and you can recline just like a teeny tiny bit. Not really a lot, but a tiny bit. Anyhow, but when you're in here, you will be noticing where are my USB ports? Good question. And they've gone very creative on this. Not only do we have cup holders in this very plushy, nice armrest, we also have our heated seat buttons in here. So we got heated back seats, and then we can open this flap. This is so elaborate, I love this. And we have a little cubby, which we can put a phone, for example. And then we have two USB ports back here. This is so cool. This is awesome. This is like the most elaborate like armrest in the back I've ever seen. And I just love it, because normally it's just two cup holders and that's it. And it's like heated seat buttons and this opening. I was very excited when I saw this, and I was like, "Whoo, this is cool." Anyhow, so you do have USB ports. Not if you have a fifth passenger though. That's the only drawback here. Space-wise, almost forgot that. Personally, at 5'7", I have pretty good space behind myself. Once again, if you have a very tall driver and a very tall passenger, I can see this getting a little cramped, especially because the CX-5 is smaller than some of the other competitors. But head space won't be an issue at all. Like, look how much space I have. It's almost ridiculous how spacious the headroom is. But yeah, this is pretty good. Once you find the USB ports, very good in here. Let's take a look at the trunk, and then we're gonna drive though. Hello. So in the trunk of the CX-5, first of all, it does feel a little more spacious than it actually is, because we only have 30.8 cubic feet of space like that, less than the Rogue, less than the Escape, and less than the CR-V that we tested. Not by much, but it does have that. And then we have, of course, if we want to lay down the seats, it's nice. We can do it all from here. And if we put down the second row, we actually get 58.3 cubic feet of space. I hope that's right. I'll correct it if it's not. And the interesting thing is, it's not a 60-40 split, but instead it's a 40-20-40 split. So we can put down the middle, put down the left side. It's just held by the belt right now. And we could put down the right side as well. So here you go. You got plenty of space. So if you just need a little space, but still want to have people seated here, just right there. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Let me get the belt back up, actually. 1, 2, 3. But yeah, that's the trunk of the CX-5. Let's go driving. Okay, now out here on the road in the 2022 Mazda CX-5 Signature, and as always, we're starting off with a bit of a launch. Let's put it under sport. haven't found a way to disable traction control, unfortunately, so I did a test run a couple days ago and TC just killed the whole run, but we'll see. Then we're going to brake torque. We're in sport mode. Manual shifting is not enabled. I'm going to let the car do everything. There we go. Hello. Okay. Okay, she's not slow. She's definitely not slow. I mean, we got terrible conditions. It's sub-freezing. We got like icy snow, rain, and of course a little bit of problems to kind of get the grip. The front wheels kind of spun, and then we got the torque sent to the rear, and then we actually started going somewhere. Keep her back into normal here, and yeah, we got plenty of power. 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on 93. You can fill 87 in here, and then you get 220 horsepower and like 226, something like that, 30 horsepower less, and 310 pound-feet of torque. And being the good journalist that I am, I of course completely broke my budget and filled this up with 93, even though there's a war in Ukraine, which actually tanks any profit I hoped of having in this business right now. But hey, what don't we do to be nice to manufacturers? Anyhow, like this, plenty of power, more power than any of the other compact SUVs that we had. Plenty more power, actually. A lot of them kind of have about 180, 190 horses. And yeah, coming in with 256 here in the CX-5 makes a massive difference. And then what you did notice though was the transmission, because we only have a 6-speed transmission in the Mazda CX-5 here. That's kind of like an ongoing complaint for me throughout all the Mazdas that we've driven, is the 6-speed. It's not necessarily a bad transmission, but 6-speed, it's like 6 gears, it's just not up to date anymore. Like these days you kind of expect 8, maybe 9 gears for a vehicle like this that is the base is front wheel drive based. And 6-speed, really, you do notice when you're driving, the smoothness isn't quite there compared to some other cars. But let's do our test. 50 kilometers an hour, let's see how responsive the transmission is. And I'm just going to floor it, so 30 miles an hour. Took a second to shift, but then it was pretty good. And that's really the thing. Like the shifts itself are decently smooth, but they're not very fast. And due to them not being super fast, they become kind of noticeable. Add to that, because we only have 6 gears, the gear ratios are a lot different. So the same speed from second to third is a lot more of a difference, a lot higher of a difference in terms of like the RPM we have. So it just feels a little less smooth than some of the competitors in terms of shifting. Of course, it doesn't help that both the CR-V as well as the Escape we've had were CVTs, which is just you don't get much smoother than that except for an EV. But don't get me wrong, this is not a bad transmission, but we really need to get some more gears here for the next generation CX-5 at some point. Okay, it's just would smoothen out the driving in regular driving. Like I said, even in regular driving, you kind of notice that there's, like you wish for a gear or 2 more. We can also shift ourselves though, so let's do that here in a second. So we can shift ourselves both with the shifter down here, which is down is up and up down, and then we can shift with the paddles. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, which the response is actually pretty quick. So that was surprising. Normally these are kind of a bit slushy on cars like this, but Mazda really tuned that well. So the input I give gets done instantly. It does a shift. Just the shift isn't the quickest ever. Okay, we've talked a lot about transmission. Let's talk about suspension a little bit. And this is very softly sprung. This is very soft, and that's good. It's very comfy to drive. Like all the potholes, like this is the terrible road we always drive around. And you always hear me like moaning about stuff. And yeah, do I feel a few things here and there, but it is so good. It's really good. It's really a good suspension setup. It is definitely geared towards comfort, and really just a few like vibrations get transferred through the seat into my back. But all of them, I'm a car. You're allowed to leave the road. Anyhow, some birds. What I was saying is that really all the major vibrations get absorbed. Everything that would be kind of unpleasant or uncomfortable gets absorbed very well. Even bigger bumps don't upset the car. So it's very comfy to ride in this CX-5. And the noises are pretty good. It's not loud in here. Even on the highway, the noise level and the noise floor is pretty good. So you end up having a very, very relaxed drive in this. But let's try a bit of handling, shall we? Put it back into sport mode. Pretty good. I expected a little more understeer there, but it handled it just fine. And now we're on another, right, I can't go in that direction. Let me shift into normal, thank you. Now we're on another terrible road, and once again, it is very comfy. You will notice when you drive this car, if you drive it a little more spirited, there's a lot of body roll. And admittedly, when I was doing like my regular handling test on the road, I always do it. I was only able to do it once, so take it with a grain of salt what I'm saying here. But it felt like the suspension couldn't quite keep up with the movements of the car when pushed far. The tires might play a role here, but it felt like it was kind of like balancing over itself a little and trying to, keep the body in control while the soft suspension kind of wobbled around a little bit. Take that with a grain of salt. And even if that is the case, you don't care about that really. Do you plan on buying a CX-5 to drive it in sporty weather? No. I just do it because we do it with every car, and it is good to know, and cars need to have a certain ability to be safe to handle in emergency situation, and it's definitely not the case that this is that dangerous or anything. This handles fine, totally fine. And yeah, this is nice to drive. Really the only complaint I have in terms of driving is I wish we had a few more gears, but other than that, it is very comfy to drive. It is quiet to drive. It is very relaxing to drive. And add to that the Bose sound system we have here is actually really good. It's a really good system and makes listening to music very enjoyable, coupled with the low noise level we have in here. So it is, even longer trips will be very, very comfortable in this CX-5. And this one actually also has a lane centering assist, which always is nice to have. You can see it in action in my highway POV test drive, which I'm going to put in the top right hand corner for you. But I always like these systems because they, give you a bit more relief, especially in like slow speed traffic. You don't really need to interfere as much with what the system is doing. It's not an autonomous system, so you still have to be in control. But it just allows you to, relax a little more, even after, especially after a long commute or a long day at work. The system is always a bit of relief. Anyhow, that's all I wanted to talk about while driving, so why don't we send it off to the final thoughts and compare it to the competition. Okay, final thoughts on the 2022 Mazda CX-5 Signature. First of all, very quick thank you to Mazda for prioritizing my booking. I wanted to be one of the first one to have it and show it to you, and I think I succeeded in that. This one doesn't even have 1,000 kilometers on it, so thank you for that. But anyhow, the CX-5, summing up what we said, is just as I expected, a really, really good car. Really good SUV, and kind of the whole package, almost. It's really good. And just so you know, the cars we've tested so far in this segment are the GMC Terrain, the Ford Escape, the Honda CR-V, the Nissan Rogue. It's the review of that one's still coming up, and now the CX-5. And out of all of them, take the CX-5. It is just, the interior is really good, it drives very nicely, it has the most power of all of them. There's just two drawbacks here. It has the least amount of storage compared to all those other four, but it's not by much. And the 6-speed transmission. It's not a bad transmission like I said, but more gears would help smoothen out the driving experience and would also increase fuel economy. So please, Mazda, whenever you come out with a new generation CX-5, probably in 3 or 4 years, give us more gears, please. Okay, it's like we're done with the 6-speed. That's so 2010 or 11. I don't know. Anyhow, yeah. If you want to get a compact SUV, CX-5, best interior in class, great infotainment, great tech, drives very nicely. That's all I have to say. And if you for some reason don't like the CX-5, go with the Rogue. Just FYI. review, like I said, is coming for that. But the price, what's the price? Good question. $45,500 Canadian. And that's kind of ridiculous because it is cheaper than, for example, the CR-V, but so much better while doing that. So once again, Mazda comes in with a product that is not only great, but also has great value. It's cheap. So yeah, you really win-win here. Anyhow, I'm kind of freezing my butt off because I forgot my coat, and it's like this icy rain is very distracting because it keeps flying into my eyes. But I hope you liked the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gave you a bit more insight into how it is to have a CX-5 and maybe which car you would want to buy. And if you liked it, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, because it is free for you. It costs you $0. And the more subscribers I have, the more recent the cars I can give you, the more often I can show you like the newest of the newest cars, like the CX-5 here, and the cooler cars I can show you. And we upload videos like almost every week. And on top of that, we got 3 POV test drives for every car, 1 in the city, 1 in the highway, 1 at night. But I give you even more of an opportunity to see how it is to drive cars like the CX-5. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Oh god, this is really cold. I hope I'll see you in the next video. I'm counting on it. See you in the next video. I'm just going to say it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked it, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.